here, baby.
All
right, we have a fantastic show planned for you today. DeMarcus Lawrence, the Dallas Cowboys defensive end. We're going to pull up at his crib, talk some Cowboys football with him. Stick around. At the end of the show, I'll have the most fearless take of the day about Michael Jordan and LeBron James in their Last Dance documentary. But we're going to start by rolling out to the Bay Area and welcoming in Rick Bucher back to the show. And we're going to start. Rick's our NBA expert, but Rick's a journalist, has covered everything. And we're going to start with my coronavirus sports world MVP. This should come as no surprise if you watch the show regularly. It's Roger Goodell and the National Football League. Last night, the NFL released its NFL schedule for the 2020 season. Gave us plenty to talk about and plenty to speculate about. The opening week schedule looks amazing. My Kansas City Chiefs are going to open the season at Houston against Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. But more than the schedule to me, last night was further clarification, further proof that Roger Goodell has owned the last 2 to 3 months of the sports world. Look, there hasn't been anything going down. The sports world has shut down. But Roger Goodell and the NFL have owned this crazy pandemic time when we're all sitting at home, worried about our future, wondering what the future is going to look like, sitting at home with nothing to do. The NFL and Roger Goodell soldiered on, despite people criticizing them, first by having free agency happen when it did, on schedule and on time. There were people that said this is the biggest disgrace since the NFL played after John F. Kennedy's assassination. Roger Goodell soldiered on. Then there were critics when Roger soldiered on with the NFL draft. Blood on the streets, according to some critics, and how dare the NFL continue on. Last night, continued on with the release of the schedule. Some people, why are they releasing the schedule? We don't know if they'll have a season. Because this is what men do. They soldier on in the face of adversity. You don't shut down every damn thing and just sit in a corner and wait for chaos to be over. You soldier on as men. That's why, to me, men and women, you soldier on. That has been the history of America. That's why Roger Goodell, to me, has stood the tallest during this coronavirus pandemic. The NFL reasserting its importance and its place in the American pop culture and landscape, sports importance. I just thought last night was the final tip of the hat to Roger Goodell in terms of, this is a guy that's been under some scrutiny for the last 5 years because of his handling of the personal conduct policy, because of some off-the-field issues as it relates to NFL players. Roger Goodell, to me, has been the big winner during this coronavirus in reshaping his image and, to me, proving he is the leader of all leaders in the sports world. If Adam Silver in the NBA had soldiered, and again, they can't continue to play games, but if Adam Silver and them had done the exact same thing as Roger Goodell, continue with what they could, he would be celebrated as the greatest commissioner in the history of the sports world. But because it's just Roger Goodell and it's the NFL, I have to say it. The rest of the media maybe will jump on board. But Roger Goodell, my clear coronavirus MVP. Love what the NFL did last night. Love what they've done this entire offseason. Love the fact that Roger Goodell has stood up to his critics and done the right thing by his league and by, I think, American sports fans. All right, Marcellus, any disagreements or any thoughts on who has stood the tallest during this coronavirus pandemic in the sports world?
Well, Jason, you just said the rest of the media may follow suit. Well, here's the first domino to fall. I'm agreeing with you. It's Roger Goodell for several reasons, and one of them takes me back to some John Wooden quotes I've heard and many other coaches regurgitate, which is, in adverse situations, the guys who can stay the same, keep it as close to normal as possible, are the ones who shine the brightest. And it's almost counterintuitive because usually when you face adversity or a big moment of leverage, you try to do more. But Roger Goodell said, no, we're just going to keep this status quo. We're going to keep our normalcy. And I think that him leading the greatest sport in our country on top of keeping things on schedule, that can't be diminished and that shouldn't be denied. Now, also, let's talk about the makeover in terms of humanizing Roger Goodell and humanizing the NFL. As you mentioned, the last 5 years, a lot of disciplinary issues that made people scratch their head at the NFL, maybe turn a little squint at the NFL, not necessarily in full favor of what the NFL was doing. But think about what the draft did in terms of the record viewing, 55 million people at home who were at home just like the same draft prospects that were now transitioning into the NFL. So it humanized Roger Goodell sitting on that chair or looking at that Zoom board of fans. It humanized them because it made us all feel like we were a part of the process. No longer this spectacle that was isolated for just 300 guys. It was for the masses, and I think that helped in his makeover. And if you finally want to look at this in totality, the NFL, according to all schedules, looks like it's still going to be on pace to open its doors, not only for its services, but for fans to enjoy come September. Like you said, the schedule release, also more condiments on this, but basically Roger Goodell, without much competition, has certainly won this offseason.
Roger Goodell is not my MVP in the sports world since the coronavirus hit us. But I will say, and I agree with you guys, that no one has done more to transform the perception of them and elevate their profile. I agree 1,000% in that he has been able to humanize himself and he has been a great leader. But I'm going to go with Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, as my MVP because he was the first owner hours after the league shut down who said, I am going to take care of the hourly workers that are going to be affected by this shutdown. I'm going to make sure that they are going to be taken care of. He's the first owner to say, you know what, opening up practice facilities next week or whenever is just not worth it at this point. He agreed to be on an advisory board for the president, even though he's not a Trump supporter. He has been providing advice to small businesses about how they can access federal loans. Every step of the way, look, Mark Cuban is a maverick in more ways than one. But every step of the way, he has been assertive and clear, and he has been thinking about people beyond the sports world that are being affected, that are less advantaged, less privileged than he is. And I just give him high marks for the way that he has approached all that. I agree with you. Roger Goodell has done a tremendous job. But for me, what Mark Cuban, the way he has stood up and stepped forward, I commend him. It's not a surprise, but it certainly is commendable.
All right, listen, Rick, I can't rebuke anything you said. I can't reject it. Again, I think what Roger Goodell has done has been more impressive, and I'll further elaborate here in a second. But I agree with you. I think what Mark Cuban has done as an owner has put him in a good light. I've been someone who's been critical of Mark Cuban, but I think his maverick tendencies are paying dividends for him and his league, and his leadership has stood tall. Not going to dispute that. But when we talk about football and the importance of football, he's just on the wrong platform. Football is the most powerful platform we have in all of sports. It's the most powerful thing we have in all of popular culture. And I go back, this week I saw a picture that Tony Barnhart, longtime college football writer, he tweeted out a picture of a 1918 Georgia Tech football game where it was during the Spanish flu, a terrible pandemic that shocked the world and shocked the United States. And when I saw this picture, it just reminded me again of the importance of football and not to diminish any other sport. But when I just think about a group of different people coming together to participate in the sport, tall people, short people, fat people, fast people, strong people, people that are weak. Football brings everyone together, and football's importance in American society has just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, but it's always been there going back to, and I actually before even seeing this picture, I'd actually looked up what happened to college football and football during the Spanish flu. Seeing this picture just hammered home to me again the importance of football, the importance of bravery and not backing down in the face of crisis. Again, I'm someone that's tried to stay out of the shutdown debate. Have we gone too far with the lockdown? I'm no expert. I'm no doctor. I've tried to stay out of it. But just my instincts as a man, as an athlete, and as a former football player, I'm kind of pro